from us who cannot be with us this evening. They send their apologies. How about the Kennett Square Mushroom Festival? Was that phenomenal or what? To the folks that put that together, the incredible number of people under Gina and Gail's watch, and the amount of time and effort and coordination and all the folks involved, and what that does for Kennett Square is hard to measure. It's unbelievable. I know there's a lot of inconvenience and roads and extra hours and staff and Public Works and all that, but wow, what a weekend it was for the borough. That's for sure. Much gratitude to them. We did have an executive session this evening regarding some legal matters, and I would like to know if there is anyone who would like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
I motion to approve.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Are there any issues, discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Appreciate it. Go through the reports. Mr. Manager.
Sure, thank you. A couple updates from our last meeting. We are still working through the proposed sidewalk ordinance updates. We plan to have that for the next meeting. And the police station that we're selling to move into our beautiful new station should get on the market here within the next month or so. We're just finishing up some reviews of it.
Very much, Cal. Is there anything, Andy, from the solicitor's office?
Just very quickly, in July, the Pennsylvania legislature passed a bill, Act 49 of 2024, which allows municipalities to amend their pension programs to allow for police officers and firefighters, assuming you have paid firefighters, to purchase full-time and part-time for up to 5 years to help build up their pensions. And it's a purpose to allow for recruitment and training for police officers. So we are looking into that to see if that is something that the borough should consider in adopting in its pension ordinance.
Thank you very much. Chief.
Hi, good evening, Council and Mr. Mayor. I did submit a statistic report for you for August activity. The only thing I have to add to that is just highlighting two significant events that we did have over these past several weeks. We had our National Night Out event on August 13th. Really great community event, had a wonderful participation from the community. We were able to hand out several hundred backpacks with school supplies, had a lot of fun, a lot of good conversation with families and children. That was a wonderful event. And then just wrapping up our Mushroom Festival weekend. Again, historic numbers, I think.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Chief. Any questions from the council for the chief? Any brief questions from anyone in the audience for the chief?
I'm sorry, John, what was that? Oh, I think parking that you were talking about, probably 90 over the 2 days of the event. Thank you.
Any report from Longwood Fire Company?
Yeah, so my name's Matt Ike. I'm the Assistant Chief of EMS. So Chief McCarthy and Chief Franks. Thanks, Bob. So my name is Matt Ike. I'm the Assistant Chief of EMS at Longwood. So unfortunately, Chief McCarthy and Chief Franks both had other commitments tonight. So myself and our Assistant Fire Chief, Matt Ross are here. So we submitted a written report to Kyle this morning that I'm sure he distributed. So we had, I believe it was 17 fire incidents in Kennett Borough in August, and 54, I believe, was the EMS incidents. If there's any questions from you guys or the public, I'm happy to try and answer.
Thanks, Matt. Any questions from council? Folks in the audience, any questions for fire and EMS? Thanks, Matt.
Cool.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it. Let's get into the committees then. First and foremost is, first, not foremost, is finance, and I'll share Joel's update. We did review the bills. We'll make a recommendation to pass those shortly or later in the meeting. We did review our check signing authority and process just to make sure it was vetted and we're comfortable with what the process is and who can sign and who can't sign. just to make sure there's good auditability on that. We also looked at our expenses versus our revenue. Overall, very good shape. There's a couple areas that we've been aware of, a couple of extra public work vehicles that we've had to get some work on. Crossing Court earlier in the year was an extra $50,000 bill that we had not budgeted for. And we're chasing a couple invoices when it comes to parking as well. Budgeting, we actually have our very first internal draft of our budget today, Kyle, or yes, I guess
Today.
today. So it's still in the staff's hands right now, but very, very preliminary budget that will start to get more and more public as it vets through the various departments and standing committees that review that. We also reviewed our donation policy and recommendations that the Finance Committee will make to the council when it comes to donations for our nonprofits that we've supported. That was finance. Is there any questions? If not, development. Kathleen, Tim?
Yes. Planning did not meet in August. I think there was a small committee that met, but general planning did not meet. And then there was a, HARB did meet, and we have a few things that are coming in front of council tonight.
Timothy, anything to add? Andy, I know you on behalf of the Planning Commission wanted a couple minutes.
Yes. Thank you. The Planning Commission is currently reviewing as the position of the borough with regards to short-term rentals. And this is the Airbnbs, VROs and such. We're in the very early stages, but to gather some public opinion or public information, we're going to release a online survey through the e-newsletter or through the newsletter that Sunny does, so that it will be open to residents in particular, but other folks will likely get a chance to do that, although we're requesting that they identify themselves as either a resident or a non-resident, so that we can make sure we listen to the residents. It should only take about 5 to 10 minutes to fill out online, and we'll be able to present the results at a future meeting. Any questions by the council members? And this has been vetted through a whole lot of people, so we think it's a pretty good survey.
Thanks very much for the report and for what the Planning Commission is doing. Julie, anything to share on your areas?
Yeah, so we are actually launching this month our committee per se for kind of State Street revitalization efforts and trying to create more walkable spaces in and around town. We finalized the team of people, and we're going to be meeting, I believe, on the 23rd, which is a Friday at 9:30. And so we're just beginning the initial phases of the project, but we're hoping to impact like holiday season with some kind of walkable kind of moments that we can help publicize.
Thank you very much. Matt, Kathleen, Public Safety, Chief?
At our public safety meeting this month, we did two things. We made recommendations for two of the event applications that are on tonight, so I'll cover those when we get there. We also talked about a possible parking study, which is also on the agenda. So I'll cover those when they come up under the action.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. And Ellie, Community Relations and Communications.
I mentioned in July that Human Relations has gone to meeting on an ad hoc basis, and we haven't had any submissions, so we haven't met. And ACOLA also hasn't met since we were discussing the visit from the politicians in Mexico. But there's an ACOLA meeting tomorrow night.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Infrastructure Committee, the primary topics that we look at were prioritizing the roads that need to be paved. Rob, do you want to highlight just the key points there?
That we had to, when the bid came in. When the bid came in for the roads, we had to get the funding to match the bid. So we did some tweaking on the road list and had to choke it down some, but I think we're in good shape now.
And when do you think that'll happen?
Actually, next month, the contract will go in front of you, and when you sign it, then we're going to start immediately.
Terrific. We still have time this season to get those in.
Yes.
We also spoke about the Birch Street renovation project, which seems like the project that just never wants to start here. The primary issue there is getting PICO's cooperation to help move a couple of poles. And their calendar year or their working year seems to end earlier than we'd be thrilled with. So we're still pushing them. Any progress, Rob, there? Or?
It looks like they're going to work with us on it.
Terrific. Terrific. So we're ready to go pretty soon on that one then. And staff development, anything, Kathleen, you could share?
We actually met this month, Sam, Kyle and myself, and we're working on a, word just went out of my head. We're working on an evaluation form for vendors that work with the borough as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, from your office, anything to share?
Just one update is that in early August, we met with Congresswoman Chrissy Houlihan regarding the grant that the borough received for the wastewater treatment plant. So she came and took a tour of the wastewater treatment plant with staff. Rob was there from Public Works. Kyle was there, and we gave her a tour of the exciting tour of walking around wastewater. She asked some great questions, but that the grant's nearly $1 million. So that'll be part of the expansion and the update to the wastewater treatment plant. And we had a nice conversation about other grants that might be coming available that could also help future expansion opportunities down there. So it was a really solid meeting with her.
Thank you very much. Let's get into the listed items on the agenda now. First one is Historic Architecture Review Board, or HARB, and the 221 East South Street project. Andy?
Yes, this is a change to the rear of the residence. They're going to add 2 floors, more living space. It will match the current look of the existing building and will be a fit to the neighborhood and the architecture. We didn't have any difficulties with this one. The next one is 222 Meredith. This is a little more. This is essentially the same type of work. He's removing part of the back of the house and replacing it, extending the house about 16 feet. This is a common occurrence within the borough to gain a little bit more living space. Again, he will mirror the existing look on the rear of the house so that the addition will look like the old part of the house did when it was there. So it also, there are 2 other forms there. One is for the removal of a derelict garage and then the rebuilding of a garage in the same footprint, essentially in the same style. The last one is my own, adding a landing and stairs to the rear of my kitchen. This probably didn't need a review, but I am not going to be accused of playing favorites with my own stuff. So we did a full review on it. And it's a minor thing that should be no problem at all.
Thank you very much.
Ready.
On the first one, 221 East South Street, any questions or comments from council? For the mayor. Any objections to putting this on the consent agenda to give a certificate of appropriateness?
No objections.
Thank you. Likewise, 222 Meredith Street, any questions? Any objections to putting this on the consent agenda?
No.
And this is the tougher one here. Any comments or concerns about the 308 Marshall Street project? It sounds shady from up here. I don't know about.
What's the consistency of the concrete?
I kid you. I kid you. Any questions for Andy regarding that project?
I will note that the 222 Meredith will be 3 separate COAs as required by the
Okay.
ordinance.
Any objection to that?
No.
Okay, and in fairness, in full transparency, Andy actually didn't oversee this approval. This was done by another member of the HARB committee, so
Right.
he was a guest at that hearing.
Yes,
Any
sir.
objection to putting 308 Marshall on the consent agenda? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Andy. Civil Service Commission, consider acceptance of certified list for hiring. Chief?
Good evening again. So back on June 3rd, council charged Civil Service Commission to conduct a entry-level full-time officer testing process. That process is now completed, and on the 26th of August, Civil Service Commission certified an eligibility list for the overall testing results and a certified hiring list from which we're going to ask council's permission to move forward with filling a vacant position. So attached to the staff report are both lists for your approval, and I would ask that you to approve them.
Any questions for the chief?
I have a question, a couple questions. First, we redid the requirements so that you could hire someone who is untrained. Did that happen?
No, all of the top candidates that you currently see are certified.
Okay.
Now, we did have candidates without certification that are on the eligibility list, specifically candidate number 4 and number 5. But we are actually looking at the top 3 to choose a position out of right now.
Okay, makes sense. And are any of the candidates from the borough, living in the borough?
Yeah, and actually that's really what I'm going to be eager to explain to you with the conditional offer. Is our number 1 candidate, Angel Chamal Rodriguez, is what I'd like to call a homegrown talent. Comes with an incredible story about coming here as a young boy from Mexico. Went through the naturalization process when he was in his early 20s, so just a few years ago when it came down to it. But is just full of life experience and wanting to repay that experience back to Kennett Square.
Does that mean he's bilingual?
I was waiting for Bob to ask me that because I've been dying to jump on this one for several hires now. Yes, he is.
Is there any objection to putting the Civil Service Commission certified list and hiring list on the consent agenda?
No objection.
Is there any questions for the chief about the offer being made to Mr. Angel Jamal Rodriguez?
I just wanted to point out that this is the fastest we've ever gone through this process. I mean, we usually look for 6 to 8 months. Sometimes it's taken us a year to get through the application process, the testing and all those pieces. And because of the need and the desire to push hard, civil service really worked and met and moved the process along as the chief did. I have this done in 90 days is pretty amazing.
Never done it before.
Never on there. So we've never seen one so fast. So it's great to have that certification list. And just for clarity on B, the conditional offer, council's allowing the chief to make the conditional offer. And then there's still things that still have to happen after that. There's drug testing and all those pieces have to happen afterwards. So the conditional offer happens now. There's still things that could happen, but we expect and hope that this will, move us right through.
Yeah, we're quite confident based on our background of the candidate, actually all of our top candidates, that we're not going to have any issues. But yes, like the mayor stated, we still have polygraph testing, we still have psychological testing and medical testing as well.
Any brief questions, comments regarding officer or potentially Officer Rodriguez from anyone here? Is there any objection to putting this on the consent agenda?
No.
Thanks, Chief, and for your ongoing leadership, high quality caliber leadership in the department as well.
Thank you, sir.
And you're still up with the grant recruitment incentives for law enforcement.
So this kind of plays hand in hand with the current hiring that we're looking at. PCCD, the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, currently has a recruitment incentives for law enforcement grant that actually was coming to a close Friday. So we actually submitted the application and we're seeking approval post. There's a up to $5,000 stipend and hiring bonus allowed for any full-time officer that the department is currently seeking between now and June 15th, I believe, in 2025. So we have submitted for a request for $10,000, essentially $5,000 per positions that we see another potential position opening up as a way to help these candidates perhaps fulfill some other obligations. For example, Mr. Rodriguez actually was hired by the sheriff's department. They reimbursed him for the money that he paid for the police academy, and I'm sure he's going to be responsible for that. So I'd like to take advantage of a grant that has no match for the municipality to help him out in his transition.
Any questions for the chief? Any objections to putting this on the consent agenda?
No.
Thank you. Sure. And a couple of special events, Mr. Mayor?
Public Safety reviewed these two special events applications and recommended that council approve them. The first one is Casa Guanajuato's Spanish Heritage Month celebration. That will be on Saturday, September 14th. So coming up quickly, obviously this weekend. The only impact is the use of the borough parking lot. So the event will take place here. They have all the necessary insurance for the event, and everything was vetted through public safety. The only thing that they have to pay for additionally is potentially $150 reimbursement for the street sweeper to clean up afterwards. But there are no questions on that. I think somebody from Casa Guanajuato is here if there's any questions on that you want to ask about the event.
Who's here? Myra?
Myra,
Gonzalo?
yeah.
Anything you'd like to say, Myra? You better get approval. It's this Saturday, right? Any objections to putting this on consent?
None.
Thank you. Kennett High School homecoming.
Also, this is for Friday, October 4th. They are required to get their parade permit through PennDOT as it will be on Union Street. So they've got to file that application, get that approved. Beyond that, it's a cost approximately of $1,870 that they would have to reimburse the police department for police services and approximately $600 to Public Works. So those are the cost reimbursements for that event on October.
And they did get their PennDOT permit.
Good.
Council, any questions?
No, but this is a fun event. The band comes out, the kids have floats. So got little ones, nice little parade to show up to.
I think we're 1-1 right now so far in the football season, right? 1-1, 1-1. Next is the consideration of whether council wants to express an opinion. There's two items in front of the zoning hearing board, and the council has the right, the ability to express an opinion, either of support, of not support or denying it, or no opinion is really the only option. It's zoning hearing board, as most people know, is a totally independent body appointed by council, but free to make their own decisions with no influence other than a recommendation from council. So with that, 512 Southview Avenue, just a little bit of background for everyone. Joe? Or Lexi, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so they're both pretty straightforward. 512 Southview is addition.
Joe, just hop in front of that mic just a little bit more.
Is that better?
Yes, thanks.
512 Southview is an addition to the rear of the property. They need a variance for the rear setback. So they're in the R2 district, which requires a 30-foot rear setback. The addition is going to be above or in place of an existing deck, same footprint. So they need a roughly 6-foot variance into that rear setback.
Any questions or thoughts from council? Joe, it backs to what's behind it?
I don't think there's really much back there. I think it's a field. Let me just pull it up real quick.
Have the residents,
There's another house behind it, I believe. Let me
have
see.
the other residents around it been contacted?
I'm sending out letters tomorrow, actually. Yeah, we posted the sign today and we're sending out letters tomorrow.
Any council person have a strong feeling of support or denying it? We'll let the zoning hearing board do their job. Okay. Same question for 311's West Sickle Street. Joe, what's the brief background?
Yeah, so that's located in the R1 district. They're proposing basically a second story above an existing accessory structure that's using as a garage currently. They want to use the second story as a study space. They specified that it's going to include a bathroom and a wet bar and no kitchen facility.
Okay. Any council comment, feelings one way or the other? Kathleen?
I think we let the zoning hearing board Take care.
Okay, does anyone feel differently?
And again, are the residents for this one being?
Same thing. Yep.
I think required by law, Mr. Solicitor, what's the law?
Yeah, the zoning hearing board is required to send out notice to all the residents within, I believe it's 1,000 feet, 600 feet, something of the property line. So they're all noticed.
Julie, did you have a comment? No.
I was just, with, I was just gonna say with all the conversations around accessory dwelling, like, I would feel uncomfortable with.
Is there John?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was saying that I would rather the planning commission probably approve Sickle Street because of all, or sorry, the zoning hearing board approve it because I don't, with all the discussions going around with the accessory dwelling units, that I feel like this is kind of lumped in with that. So I feel like until you get that settled, maybe Sickle Street should come up, but I would leave that up to the proper people.
Okay. We'll hold the comments for a minute, please. Any other comments from council? John, you want to say something? So we're not gonna have any input on this. We'll let the zoning hearing board make their decisions. It's not a consent item. It's more of a recommendation or not. John?
I don't think you can.
I mean, we're not making a recommendation, so it's really up to the zoning hearing board. Right. Thank you. Next item is consider the amended resolution for multi-municipal assistance grant.
Sure. Thank you. This is a follow-up to last month's discussion. You've heard for some time now, you're probably sick of hearing that we have to update our comprehensive plan. It's important to help us decide the growth of our town. That's not development, it's just where are we investing and what are we doing? And number two, it's about 12 years old. Rule of thumb, county guidelines are they should be updated about every 10 years. So last month we came to you with a request for to put out a grant application. After doing that, we were then informed that we could go for more funds. So the request here is to go from a $15,000 request to $50,000. The challenge here is that it does have a match. So especially in budget season, tight budget, the difficulty will be logistics in the sense that the grant award is expected in early 2025. So we'll have to probably leave the space in our budget for this and then have a plan for, January 15th. If we don't get it, what are we doing with those funds? So the request here is approval to go for the higher grant award.
Okay, questions from council? The mayor? So the other 65 has to come from our general, $65,000 has to come from the general budget.
It's a match of at least 50%. So we had two proposals come in, one at 100,000, one at 115,000. So that's a conservative, assuming the higher one, you could accept the lower one. So it'd be a $50,000 match.
Hypothetically, if we had, it's a tight budget. We already know it's going to be a very tight budget to hold the line on our taxes and all that. What happens if hypothetically the grant comes in for 50, but we can only afford 30 or 40,000 instead of 65 from our budget? Can we reduce the grant and still get it?
Yes, I believe that's how it works. We can get a clarification, but yeah.
Okay. Julie?
I was gonna say, if this gets approved, what would be the timeline for this to happen? When would we have the information back?
These are typically multi-year projects. So in my previous experience, it was a 2 or 3 year effort to update your comprehensive plan. So I would bet 2 years for that.
And just to note that we are at that point where we really are required to do a comprehensive plan. It's not optional.
That's right. It comes up in discussions with the county every time
Actually outrun our timeline. haven't we?
by a few years. Yeah.
Any comments or questions from anyone in the audience? Any objection from council to putting this on the consent agenda? Thank you. Will be on consent agenda. Consider the appointment of Sarah E. Zamores to the Kappa and Area Parks Authority. Is Sarah E. here by any chance? No? Mind coming up, Sheila?
Sorry, had a family emergency at the last minute. I found out at 5:30 that she could not be here, but the Kappa board has unanimously voted to approve her nomination from the Borough Council. Comes to us highly qualified. She works at Longwood Gardens. She has a background in labor and employment relations and experience in HR.
And
She
she's
also is bilingual.
has volunteered at Young Moms, CACs, the Kennett Run charities, really involved in the community. And what I thought interesting in her application is she lives in apartments near the park and incredibly values Anson Nixon Park as her backyard to be able to use it for her and her children and family.
Yes, we think she'll be a great advocate for minorities in the community, and she's already been jumping in with both feet to volunteer on the board.
Any questions from council? Any comments of anyone that knows Sarah E? Is there any objection from council to putting this on the consent agenda?
No.
Thanks, Sheila.
Thank you.
Consider the development of community and economic development limited parking review resolution. That's a mouthful, Joe. Is that you?
No, that,
Sorry.
Joe would have done a fine job with it, but we actually have on the Zoom for some additional comments, Ian Mahal, who's from the State Department we've been working with. Essentially, we've secured, the state has agreed to provide us with between 30, 40, maybe 50 hours of time to review our parking policy from the library to the new apartments on State Street. And that's including the garage. So this is a direct result of our strategic planning process in the spring. A big point of concern and potential improvement is, how do employees park on the street? Are we making the best use of our asset, which is the parking garage? So this is an attempt to address that concern. Ian, I believe, is actually involved in local government where he lives, so he does have a good feel for this whole process. Ian, do you want to share anything beyond that?
Yes, just an introduction. As a local government policy specialist, I represent the DCD's Center for Local Government Services, strictly local government. I've had numerous conversations with Kyle, met in person with staff. What your borough is doing is fantastic. One thing that we can do at DCD, at the center here, is we can deploy a technical support for free to undergo studies in your community. And parking was raised as an area just like everywhere else. It's difficult, and we could bring someone in with municipal government experience to conduct 25 to 40 hours of free non-binding study, and would be happy to move forward with it. The resolution in front of you is nothing more than a formality to get the process going, but it'd be a very exciting report to have done. And to be honest, it is something that parking is something that every community struggles with. And it's always good to have that outside eye, but it's also an area that we might be focusing on a little more with DCD, being able to dispatch someone into a community and focus on something like this. And Kennett Square can serve as the first community to essentially have a and parking study done through this program. So you're a very proactive community, and I'd like to work with you all to get you some free technical assistance, non-binding, and a study done so council and mayor and the community can review.
Well, Ian,
And I-
thank you very, very much for joining us and for your offer to support the borough in this effort. I would say there's probably more than a couple of people in the room that would agree that looking at that spot from the library, the new library, down to the new apartment buildings and all the mess going on down there, would love to get a better handle on how to better manage parking in the borough. I'm not sure if it's a you question or a Kyle question, but what's the likely outcome? What sorts of questions will you ask, and what do we find out, and what are the next steps from there?
I think it'll really be, and Ian, feel free to step in, but I think it's really convening the public to really hear the different, perspectives and feedback. We got some of that, but we could use more. And I think it'll end up being, secondly, some kind of report, but a tangible, kind of usable report that says, you should charge XYZ from hours X to Z, and your garage has this much kind of open spaces. You can do this to tweak it to use it a little better. So I think what we've struggled with is we've tried to make the policy work as best we can at any given time, and we would really benefit from a third party expert looking at it holistically and saying this is what the strategy should be.
Ms. Watson, to your credit, I mean, you brought up the point numerous times about residential parking and permits on that really busy area, and I do see that that's in this proposal as well. Anything, Ian, that you'd like to offer in terms of other things that you think might come out of it, or other experiences where you've done this that have really helped?
Well, the experience working with us is that we're not coming in to tell the borough what their scope should be. If you approve this, we would get moving, and the scope of your needs is what our DCD peer would be focusing on. And well, like Kyle said, we work hand in hand, and what comes out of the report is essentially what the borough believes its needs are in terms of parking or traffic or fees, however that discussion wants to move forward. Right now, this is a formality to move forward, to allow me to get a peer connected with Kennett Square, and what they look at and what you want to see out of it is still in the hands of your borough.
Ian, how will you get the other people on the other side of the Zoom call that you're on right now? How do you get people involved to get their opinions to be considered as part of the study?
As we move forward, public input could be a big part of where the recommendations come from. That's always a big part of any study, but that part of the scope is completely up to the borough and our peer. If you want community input, whether someone who lives a couple streets back from your main street, or someone who works in the community, or someone who owns a business, they can all have input. It's if that's the direction you'd like our peer to move in, they would absolutely want the input of those who work in the borough, those who live in the borough, whether on the main street or whether a couple streets back in your residential area, or those who use the parking facilities.
Thank you. Any comments, Mr. Mayor?
Two things. One is at public safety, we did talk about the ability to maybe put together a survey so that we could get all different stakeholders, residents, merchants, property owners that don't necessarily live in the borough but own property on State Street, users of the garage. So having a survey that was comprehensive, so we get lots of different perspectives before we even get started, right? Like, what do people really think? And then I also wanted to point out to council, since 2017, a parking study has been on the budget request every year, and we have not been able to fund it. It has been asked for every year since 2017. So to be able to get some hours from DCED to be able to at least get the conversation moving down the field is incredibly helpful because we have not been able to fund this, for going on 7 years. It always gets kind of axed. So we're looking forward to working with DCED and really getting good input on this. One of the things that keeps coming up is that every time a parking waiver is, brought in front of the borough, and as far back as we can go, 25 years, every parking waiver has been agreed because we don't have a policy, right? We have an ordinance, but we don't really have a philosophical policy that, goes behind it. So we need to start the conversation about policy, right? And how do we think about that? We need everybody's input to get to new policy.
Other comments from council or staff? Any comments in the audience? John? Thanks for that recommendation. Joe, I think, are you leading this from a staffing standpoint? Okay. Do you know, or has anyone seen the Walker study or
No,
copy of that?
no, but
Okay,
okay.
if you do, please. Ms. Watson, could I ask you to say your question? Go ahead. I know how much you love the mic. Please. Thank you. Any other comments? Any objection from council to putting this on the consent agenda?
No.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ian. Appreciate it. You're more than welcome to hang out with us this evening. We appreciate you calling in or not.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Next item is the revolving loan fund. A little history and background, Kyle. It's been around for a long time.
Sure. Well, thank you, Ian. The revolving loan fund. So this was paused when COVID came, and this is a desire to restart it. Essentially, roughly $600,000 available between state donated funds and donated funds from a local bank, True Access Capital. These funds are given out. It's called a revolving loan fund. We agree, or the committee approves projects, loans money, they pay it back, you take those funds and you loan it to someone else. So it's a good economic development tool. It can help be, it won't be all of your financing, but it might help a smaller business to do an improvement or to get off the ground. So there's limited paperwork on where this was left off. So tonight I'd like to just you've been given all the documents we could find on it. I wanted to essentially restart that, be transparent about who will be on the committee, what spaces are available, and then get started. So they're essentially, so you can't have more than 8 members on the committee. And there are 5 designated spaces. And then there are some stipulations on the others. So there's a space for the borough manager. There's a seat for the finance director. There's a seat for a council member. I would suggest it be Joel as head of the finance committee, Joel Sprague. There's a spot for Kennett Collaborative. Now in the ordinance, it was Historic Kennett Square. We know it's the same organization. I've asked Daniel Embry, and he's agreed to be on that, who is their executive director. And then the last space is for an economic development director. This was developed when the borough had that position. So previously, when we hired an assistant finance director, we had given them the dual title of that to deal with this question. So the request is if council is comfortable doing that again. That would then leave 3 seats that are open with a variety of small contingencies on them. So one is they have to be a business owner at large. I believe another is that they have to have a State Street business, but it's in the documents. We would advertise as such. So it's a long way of saying the request here tonight is to sign off on those 5 positions, as well as our plans to advertise for the remaining 3 and to start the committee as soon as we can.
Thank you. Just clarify or say again, please, I missed the Economic Development Director. Who would fill that 5th seat?
I'm proposing our assistant finance director would do that. His name is Mike.
Are there any outstanding loans?
There are, and Nick may be able to answer them, but we've continued to service the loans that are outstanding while not taking on new ones. Nick,
Do you know what's outstanding right now and who has them?
No.
This on? Okay, it's on. Okay, so the borough administers one large loan currently right now, and our program partner, which is True Access Capital, handles the administration of there's currently 1, 2, 3, 7 much smaller loans. The borough is responsible for reporting all the activity semi-annually to the state. Other than that, there's not really much other requirement in terms of reporting.
The 7 smaller ones are the ones that were given out during COVID. I believe they were the ones where we wrote special exceptions during COVID for businesses in the borough that could receive, I believe there were $10,000, maybe $15,000 tranches.
So
right?
there's some that are, well, some of those loans that you're referencing have actually been paid off, and it's revolved around to some new loans. There are, I think 4 or 5 that started at 10,000, and the others were 25,000, and they're all being paid down.
You know, the ones that are being serviced, are they current? Is there anybody in default?
I think there was one that was delinquent and was sent to collection at the end of 23. Other than that, they're all current. I think there may have been, I think there was a notation that one was maybe 30 days behind, but.
Other thoughts or questions from council?
So there's actually 8 loans out. So there's one larger one. and
Correct.
then-
Right now, right. That's correct.
And does that cover the full 600, or was there, I'm not sure if we were still
No,
at
right.
600.
Right now, we have about, doing the quick math, it's about a little less than 200,000 that's currently outstanding right now.
We're putting this group together so that we can start offering these loans again. Is that correct?
That's right. Yep.
Thanks, John. Any other questions or comments from the audience? Ma'am?
I think when that loan program started, was 500,000. First person who got it was the person who put it up. We had a big problem with that. So if the landlord is back up.
McFadden.
That landlord went larger than that. Never come before council. never come to council. And one thing I would like, I guess, the better the application period. The deadline for payroll, because that's important part of the track. When you start giving people, a lot of people that money at the smaller group, it wasn't designed for the smaller group of workmen. It wasn't designed for 1,000. It goes to their local bank. It wasn't designed for 10,000. It was for major projects so we could enhance our downtown district. And I'm hearing stuff very unsettling. And the number of people you have on that committee, I wanted to finance to even be on it. But you shouldn't be on it giving and receiving. And some of those people that are on your finance, and you know, I told you by name before who they were, are receiving. And that is a violation.
It certainly sounds like we need a committee of oversight for this, so thanks for putting this on the agenda, Kyle. Will the committee have public meetings?
Yes, yep, you'll be able to attend those, and then they'll, same as the other committees, they'll push their information through to have the updates at council.
Sounds great.
Thank you. One last comment?
Mr. McFadden had one who had a grant, and then Mr. Bobby had one. He paid that one back. McFadden lost he lost $100,000.
We'll let the committee work through the history and find out where the money is and who owes and make sure we're current. Portobello's. Nick, it sounds like John has an awful lot of history. If you guys are looking for something, he's your guy. Is there any objection from council to put this on the consent agenda for Wednesday evening?
No objection.
Thank you. Anson-Nixon Trail improvements.
Andy, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So I don't know how much in depth you want me to get with it, Bob, but basically there has been a proposal for a project to extend the trail for the Kennett Greenway through the borough from State Street to the existing trail in Anson-Nixon Park. And that is being proposed by the KTA. And what we're doing right now is we're reviewing it to determine whether or not the impervious coverage that they are removing in order to put the trail up to ADA compliance, make it 8 feet wide, make it more easily to be traveled and connect it, is going to, the updates that are required, we're looking at the proportion of the impervious space that is being removed and then being replaced with. So we're working with KTA right now on the proposal. We're waiting to hear back from them to make sure that the impervious coverage amounts meet the guidelines that are required from the state in order so that we can move forward. I don't know that we're going to have that information back by Wednesday. However, maybe we just leave it on until Wednesday. If we get lucky, we get it back and we can move forward then.
So you prefer not to put this on the consent agenda?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. I mean, it seems like we're getting a great new trail as part of the program and actually reducing the impact in terms of rainwater and pervious surface.
Absolutely. But we need to make sure that those numbers match up.
Gotcha. Okay.
So let's plan for a Wednesday discussion on
We'll
this.
keep it on the agenda for Wednesday. Ellie?
Can you explain why this is coming before council? I was just a little confused why this isn't just like a regular planning, building permitting process.
Kyle, do you want-
Sure. So the gist is, as I understand it, is that if you're removing an impervious trail, so what we mean is that water doesn't go through it, right? It's a paved trail. If you remove a square foot here and you replace it with a new square foot, that doesn't trigger a stormwater issue because you're doing like for like. If you take a dirt path and you replace it with paved, then at some point, once you hit a certain acreage, you trigger a stormwater review. And so the question here is, Kennedy Trails Alliance is proposing to remove, at no cost to the borough, the old trail, which goes through and is now interrupted by a home that was built, and to pave a new trail. So that would be essentially like for like. And previously this year, they removed other portions of paved trails. So the question is, are those two areas connected and close enough to constitute, and close enough in time and location to constitute a trade-off? Because otherwise you trigger a huge amount of stormwater reviews. So we can talk more in depth on Wednesday, but that's the gist of it.
So we'll push that to the Wednesday agenda. Thank you. Thanks, Andy. Kyle and Nick, educate us a little bit on pension programs and our obligations, please.
Sure.
Oh, sure. Give him the tough one.
Yeah, I'm going to be asking for a lot of money here. Act 205 of 1984, as amended, governs the funding requirements for all municipal pension plans. The law requires the chief administrative officer of each pension plan to inform you guys, the governing body of the borough, of the plan's expected financial obligation for the upcoming year. And this must be done by law by the last day of September. So we are asking to approve the minimum municipal obligation for the borough's police pension plan for the 2025 year in the amount of $97,025.
Silly question, I'm sure, but suppose we said no. You can't say no. Is there any other
Yeah.
silly questions, dumb questions from council? Is there any objection to putting this on the consent agenda? Likewise, for the non-uniform pension plan, the obligation for 25 is $323,945.
Correct.
Any objection to putting that on the consent agenda? Do you know what they were last year?
Last year, the uniform or police pension plan was 92,000. And the non-uniform, I don't have the number from me, but I think it was around 270,000. Yeah, the non-uniform increased more than the uniform, but it's a very complicated actuarial formula that takes into consideration the current payroll, the age of the staff, in terms of how many years out that they have to work until retirement, life expectancy. There's a lot of factors that go involved into the calculation.
Thank you. Next time on the agenda is the approval of the bills through August 8th of 2024. That's in the amount of $122,870.94. Is there any objection to putting this on the consent agenda?
I'm sorry, but just it's $2,127,870.94.
Thank you for the correction. And the last item on our agenda, formal item, is the review and approval of the August 5th minutes from this meeting, August 5th. Any comments or edits from the council? Is there any objection to putting this on the consent agenda?
No objection.
Thank you very much. One of our favorite parts of the show is public comment. Is there anyone who would like to share what a wonderful job the council and staff are doing here? And if not, what we can do better. But I'm kidding around a little bit, but what comments do you have and how can we help you out, John?
Bob, sorry, can I introduce something real quick?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It wasn't on the agenda, but we do have a resident from 700 South Washington Street. The Boves, they are looking to request a waiver for their chicken ordinance. So our current chicken ordinance allows 4 fowl per property, no roosters. They currently have a dozen. So they are here to request that waiver and plead their case. So I just wanted to give them an introduction.
Well, just a procedural question. I mean, is that, no one has any background information? Can we put that
So,
on the Wednesday agenda?
It's not going to be a voting item, more of a discussion, since the lawyer is looking into it to make, our solicitor is looking into it to make sure it's not a zoning requirement and it's just a waiver. So we kind of wanted to bring it to council for discussion since we haven't heard exactly if it needs to go to the zoning hearing board or not. So
How big is like their yard?
they have an 8,800 square foot property.
Hi, my name is Diane. The chicken issue is my issue.
Okay.
We,
So I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Pardon me. So this is a public comment right now.
It
that
is, yeah. I just
procedurally-
wanted to give some background. So the reason it came up was because they received a citation from codes.
Gotcha.
Sorry,
Okay.
that's the background for it. So they received a citation for having more than 4 chickens and they are here in response to the citation.
And you caught me off guard a little bit.
Sorry.
So the current ordinance is what?
It's
4
4 fowl. Yeah,
Four-
4 fowl. So that could be 2 chickens, 2 ducks, no roosters.
4 chickens, that's it?
Yeah.
Correct.
Miss,
yes.
your name and
What? Correct, no roosters. My name is Diane Bove. We live at 700 South Washington Street. We do raise chickens for their eggs. We have 6 members of our family. We have a great relationship with all of our neighbors. We have had chickens for 7 years. I'm happy to go into the details of how one raises a poultry flock that will actually maintain egg laying ability. But chickens don't lay eggs every single day. They average 4 to 5 eggs a week. So a flock of 4 would not feed a family of 6 anything substantial. So we have maintained a very neat and tidy coop. We don't have any smell that needs to be worried about. Our neighbors never complain about our chickens. I did ask some of our neighbors before coming if there was any problem, and they all were like, we didn't even know there was like a deal about any of this. So our plea is our lot is 1/5 of an acre. About 1/3 of our lot is devoted to a vegetable garden. So we produce a lot of the calories that we eat on a given day out of our own property. Our chickens, we have 0 food waste because all of our food waste goes to our chickens or to our compost pile. So while we have a large family, we have the smallest trash can available through the borough, which we don't fill. So we ease burden on that. All of our compost goes back into our garden. And so it's a closed loop as well. So we've created a system that's really self-sustaining, that nourishes our family, that provides opportunities for my children to learn about how to care for something. So we view it as an agricultural thing and not as like a frivolous pet thing. So we are on the like outskirts of town too. We're in the off South Street area. Any questions?
like Judge Wapner here. Is there a rebuttal, Lexi? Is there, from a zoning standpoint or code standpoint, the issue is what?
The issue is that our ordinance only allows 4 fowls. So there is, I'm sure people are aware, there is kind of like a rooster chicken problem in the borough. So I have been going around and looking at properties that have an excess of 4 fowl.
Can I just ask for a little respect? Please. Can I ask for a little respect up here? Go
So
ahead,
just
ladies.
asking my children questions about the
Yeah.
chickens.
Okay, so there can only be 4 fowl on the property, no roosters. So it just has been brought to my attention since starting in the position that there has been a rooster problem. They do not have roosters on their property. They just have fowl. However, I do have to cite anyone that has over 4 fouls. So they received a door hanger, and they came in and talked to me about it. And I told her to address council and see where we could go. The solicitor is currently looking into if it's a zoning issue where you need to go to the zoning hearing board, or if it is a council issue where the council can grant a waiver.
And we did check the Chester County codes for the whole county. The recommendation is 20 foul regardless of size of property, as long as you're not a farm, in which case there's no limit.
Mr. Rangus.
Yes, thank you. So no, we have started looking into this. Kennett is, amongst many other reasons, Kennett is different in the sense of most of the municipalities in Chester County address chickens in their zoning code. It does not here. So we just need to go back and confirm that the procedural basis for you to address this would be to address it through council by requesting a waiver. And we should be able to have that for you shortly.
So is your advice that the council do nothing right now and wait until that comes through?
Yes,
Okay.
I think we leave it
Give-
status quo.
Cool.
You keep your 12 chickens for right now and we,
Can we give them a stay on the,
That's what
Execution.
I think we're looking for a recommendation is
Okay.
what to do next, since I was given they were given till today to rehome, and only keep up to 4 chickens. So that's why we were just requesting, I guess, like, an extension to
Yeah.
allow her to keep the chickens until a formal waiver is either granted or denied.
is there any council person who objects to allowing this to run its course for a couple of weeks' time? And if they need a waiver to come to council at the next meeting next month, and if they don't, then the solicitor, our zoning officer, will let you know what has to be done. Is there any objection to that?
Cool.
We have the right to do that, Mr. Solicitor?
you have the right to grant them status quo as of now. I'm pretty certain that it will need to come back in front of council in some format.
Mr. Mayor?
I wanted to quickly, I remember when we passed this ordinance, because it
Yeah.
was an ordinance that Borough Council passed. It was, we had several presentations on urban chickens. We had multiple presenters. We had somebody that came from Philadelphia, somebody came from Phoenixville, and we heard about it over a three-month council event. And at the time, there were no chickens allowed in the borough whatsoever on there. And when we wrote that ordinance and specifically carved out the rooster side because of the noise piece, the number 4 was a random number that council debated back and forth. There were several of the presenters that recommended a larger number for healthy flocks, that flocks are healthier with a larger number because of the way they interact together. And at the time, I just remember council went back and forth and just said, well, we'll go with 4 for right now, and we can always revisit it if somebody comes back. But there was quite a lot of, other than the Human Relations Commission, that was probably one of the most attended borough council meetings I've ever been to. There were probably 20 comments about it, maybe 30. And because the recommendations from the experts were that the number should be higher, and council at the time said, well, we'll start with 4 and we'll revisit this in the future. So I remember it very clearly, and it was multiple meetings over multiple months.
And I'm very happy to share more
we
information.
look forward
about
to
how
that.
Do that. So,
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
are they named?
I mean, my children named all of
Okay.
them. Do I know their names? No.
Okay.
I know that they give me.
That's all right. That's all right. Thank you very much. You know, if there was a reporter in the room, this would be the headline tomorrow in the paper. Is there any other public comment? Sir?
Tell you what I did. 8 months ago, I got rats.
I got it.
I got rats. And what I found out was the extermination was caused by chickens and ducks from my neighbors. Chickens and ducks from my neighbors. I've spent $1,400 getting rid of that damn. I haven't had a rat in 46 years in my property. Till 6 to 8 months ago. All of a sudden, I got 5 rats. Well, I got rid of them, cost me $1,400. Now they got them, they got chickens and ducks again. And I'm gonna kill me as chicken and duck this time if I have to, because I don't want no more damn rats in my house. I'm telling you, it's terrible. You get a rat in your house because, and they told me, do you got any chickens and ducks in there? Neighbors, right next to my property. So that's a problem that you guys got to look into because I want money. I'm not paying $1,400 again. Get rid of rats. Now, second, I want to apologize to Matt. I haven't seen him in a while since the last time I stuck my foot in my mouth. At the last meeting we both attended. I apologize. I don't lie, but I do stick my foot in my mouth every once in a while, and I do apologize. Third, I am very concerned about giving Cannon Township sewer for their new development, which is, I guess, north of town. Only because I said, look, give them the sewer, but don't let them use it right now. Tell them we don't have the pipes. Tell them, look, you can have it. You can tell the developer he can have the pipes, he can have the sewer, but we can't. Our pipes cannot take that much sewer into it. So you got to wait until we can afford to expand our pipes a little bit. Be surprised what a developer will do for you if you tell him that. Just tell him, the sewer, we'll guarantee your sewer. But we're going to let, we got to stay on it until we can do our pipes. So our pipes can't hold it. Our pipes cannot hold that sewer anymore. The other thing is, and I talked to the guys at the fire company, we need, and I've done it before in Harrisburg and other places, we need to start asking these developers for money for ambulances, for fire trucks, for that, before they do anything. They want us to protect their buildings, but that high rise, how are we going to protect that high rise? We should have gotten at least a couple $100,000 to go to the fire department. Why should we pay for all their new equipment when these guys are building, even if it's outside of town? So those two things we need to get into, and we got to quit playing the game. We're losing all our assets. You people are giving all our assets away. Please, please do not do that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, okay.
You spit on that. I'm concerned about a couple of things. Number one, I hear you talking about the police station sale. I have a problem with that. I don't think you should sell your police station. It's not going to take care of the debt. That you have, it's coming, that you don't even know about. It's not going to take care of it. And I got an idea we're going to need that last piece of public property. That's the last piece in the borough. And if there comes in the need that you have to talk to those 4 homeowners and combine that parking lot that's up there, you can make yourself a police station, or a borough building, and you might have to rent your police station right here because you don't have the money. I don't care how much you charge for these houses. People's moving in and out of them. It's just a 24-hour turnkey almost. I'm watching them right down Magnolia Place. And that's where your tax base we never even got to realize. I have a big problem with that. For this borough will be operating like the Lincoln Lawyer, if you ever seen that movie with Matthew McConaughey, out of your trunk. Because you cannot afford this building, and you die hard keep insisting you can, and you can't. And you're costing us taxpayers. And that brings us to old people, and that's me, okay? Some municipalities have Homestead Act right from the town. And they also have a freeze on elderly people's taxes. And I think that needs to be considered here because you're running away with us, and it's just not fair. We're on fixed incomes. Most of your people who own homes, and they're getting hurt all over because they're the only people to pay the school tax. So let's start to think about that as you grow to get as equal as the school tax in my household. The other thing is that the short-term rentals, you need to cut that right now because we need money. And go around this town, and I got a list if the girl needs them, because I've driven around and stopped at their homes, looked at them, and took to see if they had a number on them, see if they don't own all these additions, and they are inhabited. Tilly Hall just moved from our house right down there on Broad Street, right across from this place. It's rented as a Airbnb. That's a fine. Get out there and get it done. All you gotta do is look in the backyard like I did. See curtains up to the windows, see where people are inhabited, these garages over top of things. And that's that hotel, that book hotel, who let them put the outhouse in the back? Okay? That space does not even qualify to have a shed on it. And it looks like an outhouse when you drive through town. It needs to be taken down. It does not have the space. And when we talk about setbacks for the zoning, we're talking about somebody's own, oh, well, they're only going to do it 16 feet. I can tell you right now, we had no business discussing that. Goes right to zoning. And yes, the council does have an opinion. And it comes through your authorized professional officer of zoning. And they speak at the zoning board. They're sworn in to do it. We're not seeing our groups or, excuse me, I get asthma every time I come in this place. We're not seeing our legs of the government being used for the function they are. And we're seeing things come here that shouldn't even come up here. And that was a fine question you asked. Why is it coming here? Now I'm going to end on the chickens, okay? That is a terrible subject for Kennett Square. Given the nature of the population and the type of demographic we had. And we did not allow free-range chickens at all. Somebody said they can't fly. Don't tell me that. Jack Winters, my grandfather, had chickens and they could fly up on you this high. They can fly up on you that high. So if you don't have a good fence, they're going to come on across there. And I want to know, the bottom line is that who says we don't have all this stuff? Every time you people speak, we don't have nothing. I got a book that said we had everything. It speaks to pets and fowl.
Carla?
So, excuse me, if you can get on this council and use your expertise a little better, as well as you use it on time, keep it for us. Because I never hear you ask the questions or be constructive, none of you. That's what you need to start doing, because we're giving you the
You're at
input.
4.5 minutes.
I hear you. So was she.
No?
Yeah, oh yeah, she was long. We already did it. We already talked about it.
Thank you. Next,
Okay?
any other public comment?
So you learn the job. Learn the job. So the timing.
Hi, Sandy D'Antonio, 220 North Broad Street. I do want to agree with Charlotte on the police building. Property is an asset. It could be used as a rental. And I definitely think we should keep it. So I don't think in the end, you're going to make much money off of it. Okay, but my main concern that I was going to get up here and talk about is letting non-residents participate in the survey that Andy was talking about. I think only taxpayers should be able to discuss and participate in anything like that. Personally, there are too many short-term rentals, too many people trying to put accessory dwellings on their property, and it's going to change the character of the town. So also, everybody does not have access to online. I do, but there are a lot of people that don't. So I think it needs to be handled a little differently. My other thing, I'm sorry, I'll make this quick, is I love the Mushroom Festival. I volunteered for years. I do have an issue with people blocking driveways. I don't know how we can work with the festival to have somebody police that, but I had a lot of company. I had company both days. People were trying to block my driveway, my neighbors across the street, down the street. And I said, how can you hang this far over a driveway and think that it's okay to park? So then they go across the street to my neighbors and try to park. I'm like, I don't think so, because they weren't home. So I know it's tough, and I love the Mushroom Festival. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Andy,
Want to.
is that all right? Can Ken go? Please go ahead.
Ken Edwards, 412 Mark, Marriott Street. This is about an issue that apparently you guys have hemming and hawing on for over a year now. And that's the fire and EMS. Get your acts together. You've had a year. What is the problem? I know most of you don't like Mr. AJ. A lot of people don't like him. But think of the public. That's what they're there for. That's what those ladies and gentlemen that are paid get paid to do. The ones that volunteer, they enjoy it. I know I did when I was a volunteer firefighter. But get your act together. You're playing with lives by dragging it out. I know AJ's had conversations with Kyle. What they've consisted of, I don't know, but I know he's had them. Get your acts together. Think of the general public and the visitors that come here. Because if we don't have fire and EMS, and it's somebody nearby, when I say nearby, within a mile or two, you could, and you have what we had here, you could have a major problem, especially if somebody decides to come in here and go nuts. But just think, it's something that needs to be done. You've had a year. When the last council decided, we're going to get out. That comes up real quick. And the end of December is not that far away. You may say, oh, well, it's 4 months away. That's going to go quick, folks. You need to take care of it. You need to think of the public, because that's a lot of money. They get their monies. The fire trucks, they're rated based on the money they get is based on the number of commercial and residential ratables, what they're worth. And that's done by insurance companies. But get your act together, work on it, try and get it done soon. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Andy?
Just to address Sandy's questions, the survey does ask if you are a resident or not a resident, and we will take that into consideration when doing the analysis. People will lie, but you can't help it. It's a public survey. We'll figure it out. I do have the ability to tell if anybody is spamming. But we're doing this anonymously. We're not asking for names. We're not in.
Could I ask you guys to take this up after the meeting?
Yeah.
Just it's public comment, that's all. You can certainly have that discussion. Andy, anything else?
No.
Thank you very much. Any comment from council? Mr. Mayor, staff? One. Hey.
Humble.
Was there other?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that on August, there was, do I have to say my address?
Yes.
Oh, it's Juan Luis Tafoya, 301 Ray Street. I just want to clarify that on August that it was said that I stepped down from being a junior council member. I had residents come up to me very upset, but that wasn't the case. I was term limited. So, and in full transparency, I did ask for a term extension, which the rules allowed me to do that. It said 2 years college and all that stuff. But I just wanted to say that I was term limited. I didn't step down, nor did I resign.
Fair enough. Was there another public comment that I missed?
Thank you. Good evening. I have a question regarding.
Ms. Fisher, would you just
Oh,
say?
yeah, Sibylla Fisher, 234 North Garfield Street. So I have a question regarding the use of this building and specifically regarding the letter of intent that KCG, the Kennett Community Grocer, put in front of the Borough Council in June, and I haven't heard anything since. So I just wondering what's going on. I expected it to be on the agenda last month, this month.
So
What's going on?
We've been in contact with them and negotiating since then. So our last meeting was, I think, Thursday or Friday of last week. So we're just trying to get to terms that they can agree to and that we can agree to.
Okay, so it's being worked on. That's good to know.
Yep.
And the second letter of intent was in July from the hub. What's happened with that one?
Still a work in progress.
Work in
There's
progress.
a lot of details translating those terms to actual contracts. So they're both being worked on. They haven't been forgotten, but
All right, that's good to know.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Anyone?
Anyone else that I missed? Apologies. With that,
Quick announcement.
please.
I wanted to remind everybody that tomorrow is the anniversary of the occupation of Kennett Square by the British troops on their way to the Battle of Brandywine. There's an event at the library to commemorate that. It's on Sunday at 1:30. You'll have to look it up, John. I don't have any more details other than the time. Sunday, 1:30 on this week.
Perfect. Thank you. Also, the 25th anniversary of the Kennett Square Farmers Market is being celebrated this coming Friday. Chickens included. I mean, they can all come. 25th anniversary. We'll have a little thank you at our Wednesday meeting. The representative who runs the market and has done a phenomenal job. Roz is right behind here in the second row. But if you're around and feel like it, it'd be a great time to go out to the Kennett Farmers Market to help them celebrate their 25th anniversary. And Wednesday's meeting is our more workshop. We'll get the business out of the way up front. And we've got, I'll be very politically polite here. We've got Representative Sappy, who's coming to talk about issues, and I don't mean any slight against either of them. That was horrible language to set it up. Representative Sappy will be here, as well as Senator Kane. We've asked them to come talk about their priorities, especially as it relates to the borough and how it benefits or how we can work together, and would certainly welcome any and all questions that you have to share with them. And we're also going to have a discussion about the parish trail, the master plan, and how that's coming. So many people are using the trails more and more. It's just exciting to see. And my slight awkwardness up front was to bring your cappuccino or espresso for the last presentation, which is our audit. We're actually going to go through the 2023 audit at the end of the meeting. So that might need a cup of coffee. Otherwise, thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you Wednesday. Good night.
I had fried, so.